And our next speaker, which is Tina Nicpac-Brown, who is one of those educators that, as we talked about, that inspires others, that really does all the hard work to make sure that all the kids are engaged. And so we're super excited to welcome her. She's a teacher at Lincoln Elementary. She's the recipient of multiple grants from the Community Foundation over the years, Stronger Schools grants, Classroom Cam grants, and grants from donor advised funds, where donors have stepped up and believed in the project that she was doing. So please welcome Tina.
Thank you very much for having me here and letting me share my story. I'm an 18-year educator this year, born and raised in Chicago, where some of my beginning years were. So moving out here to Wenatchee is not only a huge cultural change for me, it's been a great learning adventure that I've been able to take my students on as well. I included some pictures here. These were my first grants that I received almost 10 years ago. The students in these pictures are now sophomores, most of them at Wenatchee High School, and I contacted some of them and asked them if they remembered anything about stability balls. The bottom left-hand picture shows my classroom with 32 stability ball chairs that we not only used as chairs, but we took 3 exercise breaks a day. And the little boy in the white t-shirt in the front, not so little anymore, he is on the defensive line for the football team and says that he still uses some of the core moves that we did back then. The Community Foundation has allowed me to introduce Lego robotics, these stability ball chairs, snowshoeing and animal adaptations, which someone from Chicago knows nothing about. Safety helmets, which you need for skiing at Mission Ridge, which I knew nothing about, and all the different careers there. I've received grant funds from private donors who supported having a winter closet at my school. So when I took students skiing and snowshoeing, they had the appropriate gear to wear. It is now our 4th year of using those, and it keeps expanding. I've also received a 3D scanner, which helped my students 2 years ago work with Century Aviation to 3D scan a part, which we later then 3D printed, and they sent off to get molded into the material that they needed. The grants have also allowed me to have character development assemblies, not only at my school, but my daughter's school, Washington Elementary. Subscriptions to Mystery Science for 3 schools, and school-wide experiences this year for Washington Elementary. This is some pictures of one of the first grants that I received that I have been able to continue to have fund, which is teaching kids about those animal adaptations and creating their own snowshoes. And you may think that kids get to get out and play in the snow, but they don't. They don't have the proper snow gear to do so. A lot of these kids in this picture was their first time even in Leavenworth. These are some pictures of some of my favorites of creating safety helmets. Again, never being on a ski hill myself, I didn't know necessarily the importance of a safety helmet. So being the curious person that I am, I reached out and asked for some financial support and said I want to build helmets with my kids, and we did. And then we went to Mission Ridge, and this picture in the bottom right, it's kind of tricky to see, but I went out and bought styrofoam heads, and we stuck paintballs on top of the styrofoam, strapped their hats on, and we dropped them from the lodge deck. And we had a lot of redesign. Those paintballs didn't always work out, but in the end we learned about not only the importance of safety helmets, but the different designs between the ones you need for skiing and the ones you need for riding your bike in the neighborhood. I have to say my biggest, proudest scholarship is this next one. This past January, I was awarded a Stronger School grant of $5,000 to take 34 Title I students for 3 days and 2 nights to the YMCA camp at Lake Wenatchee. I'm very lucky to have a principal who tells me I'm crazy and then says, I trust you, because it was one of the best experiences these kids had. They had to learn to light fires to keep their cabins warm. They had to find the firewood and bring it in. We made instruments called canjos and then played them around an indoor campfire. We made ice cream from snow, telescopes so that they could view the blood moon that following week with their families. I have a little journal entry from a student of mine after this event that I wanted to share with you. And I'm going to read it. She says, I really wasn't sure I wanted to go to camp. After all, Mrs. Brown said we wouldn't have Wi-Fi or our devices, and I was like, really? Do I want to do this? Really? No YouTube? But then Brown said we're going to do art. Now, I was never really into art until we went to this camp. It all started when we went with Nate. And if you could tell him I said this, I appreciate it. We were doing some watercolors, and I got to see nature and its beauty. At the time, I have to be honest, I was not so focused. But I remember something about him telling us to look at reflections on the water. And I did. And when we got back from camp, I realized something special. I looked around the playground and I saw little puddles and the reflections of the trees. And I decided I was just going to draw it. And it ended up being really good. And it's the first page of my new journal. Now I always have a memory of when we went to camp. And because I went to camp, I now love sketching, not just art in general, but thanks to you, I have a great journal that I can put all my sketches in. Again, I wasn't sure I wanted to go to camp, but I did. And you know what? I didn't even miss having YouTube. It's stories like this that my students tell me year after year, and I always share with them the numerous people that make our projects possible. It's my goal to get these kids out of the classroom and see the environment in which we live in. So thank you to the Classrooms Camp Grant, the Stronger Schools Grant, the Woods Family Music and Arts Grant, the STEAM Grants, and the North Central Washington Foundation for Youth Grants. These grants from the Community Foundation have not only given me the opportunity to learn alongside my students in non-traditional ways, but as you can see, they've given my students memories and pathways to future experiences. So thank you for supporting all the educators like me who are willing to dream up crazy dreams and have big ideas. And most importantly, thank you for allowing me to be part of your life.